time of uncertainty, two men have emerged. Two men have found a way. Featuring Beechy and Blackers, Pincher, Operator Al, and the Mancologist. It's time for Sunday Night Live.
Hello, mate.
And we are back. Me, Cole Beach, and my great mate Nathan Blackerby, Beechy and Blackers, for another edition of Sunday Night Live. So, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, start sharing it now. Start letting people know that you want it. And we do want your questions and stuff coming in as well, because we've got some good guests in tonight. We have back with us, as per normal, Pincher. So Pincher of Pinch, who'll be doing his music trivia. Big Phil will be here, and we've asked Phil this week to talk about the absolute goal of any man. Wait, how do you get big veiny biceps? So we're going to be talking about that. And we've got Byron Hayward with us as well, who's a defence coach for rugby in Wales, and has got an amazing story. So all of that is coming up. But we were doing a little bit of reminiscing, weren't we, me old pal, earlier?
Yeah, a little bit. We started to talk earlier about our first computers. Now, I was in the era of the Atari. I don't know if you remember the Atari. I wish I still had it, because they were
plug and cassette one.
Yeah, like a cartridge that sits in the top. Right. So I had that, and then we didn't really have much computing growing up. And then when I got to about 17, I had a pager, and I'm classing that as a computer.
I remember blokes had pages in holsters, didn't they?
That's what I had, a pager and a holster.
Little thing on your belt, yeah.
Yeah.
Then, do you remember when the mobile phones first came out? I know this is a sidetrack from what we were going to talk about, but when mobile phones came out, I was flogging furniture for Queensway Furniture in Romford. And this bloke, who was a furniture delivery bloke, he had what I saw as a first ever mobile phone I clapped eyes on. And he had like a big box with a carry handle on it, which was the battery, and a massive proper handset. And he was saying, this battery alone cost me $1,000. that was like in the late 80s. And I thought it was amazing. And then when the Nokia brick came out, I thought that was amazing. But when flip phones came out,
do you remember the Matrix?
The what?
Do you remember the Matrix? And he had that phone where you click it and the bottom slid out.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mate had that phone. Brilliant.
I know, amazing.
Yeah, so good.
Listen, I know this isn't a site, so we're going to talk about computers, but when I was working in banking in the early 90s, we were doing this transaction from sterling to Swiss francs, and my train got stuck, and it all had to be done by a certain time because the money was being secured against a property over in Switzerland. And I remember, I thought, this is my moment. And I reached into my suit pocket and I pulled out this whopping great big mobile phone and slid it down and made a phone call. And I remember, I was only young, in my early 20s, and people looking, going like, that's amazing. That is amazing. I felt incredible. Anyway, about 6 months later, I was planting a church in an Essex estate near Basildon, and it all went. So I haven't done the happy glory. Anyway, so you had an Atari.
Go on. What'd you have?
Sinclair Spectrum 48K.
What, the tape one?
Tape one. So basically,
nice.
it was the first computer that was the size of a shoebox. And basically you connected that to a cassette recorder. We had two little leads that you plugged in either side, and then you pressed play, and it transmitted the data off the tape into the computer. Wow. And my favourite game was called the Apache Gunship. And I think we got a little clip. This is computing genius. Watch this. This is me, or would have been me, flying through a valley, loosening off Hellfire missiles with 48K. Look at this. I don't know if we can. Look at the speed I'm going. Now you looked at earlier and you said nothing was happening. Look at it! Look at it! That's me taking out the tank. So anyway, that was.
Technology's changed a bit, mate.
I'm just wondering, Big Phil's in the background. I don't think I could bring him up, Operator Al. But what was your first computer, Big Phil?
Dad had an A3000, and I remember, I think it was E-Type, where you basically had a racing game. It was similar sort of graphics. Overtake. Do you remember E-Type? And then every time you bumped into a tree, the little people would jump up. And obviously, being a kid, that's what you want to do. You every time you hit a tree, it's hilarious because they bump up the little man and the woman who are in the E-Type. Bump up. It's brilliant. Spent many hours on such a simple game.
I remember my thing was Horace Goes Skiing, Hungry Horace. Horace Goes Skiing. And I remember when that game came through, before I went to school, I was just desperate to go skiing with this little blobby thing called Horace. People don't realise what they've got now with their Xbox Ones. But the glory days.
They don't.
Best game, Jetpack on Specky. Jetpack, oh yeah. And
we are getting lots of comments in.
Go on, let's have a look. What are some of them saying?
Well, a lot of people are talking about their top 3 games, and interestingly, we are doing that today. But a distressing message is this one. I don't know if the picture will show. Look at that.
That's a Wales, mate.
They're
very excited to talk to Byron later, and we will be coming on to that. But first, we want to talk ridiculousness. I think it might be time for a rant.
I think so.
It's time to put things right with Beechy and Blackers.
So, what you got for us, Beechy?
Well, we changed this at the last minute. Let's be honest. We were
chatting earlier.
We were chatting earlier by text because we were getting genuinely annoyed by something, weren't we? And we are men of peace. We love the Lord, but we do get a bit frustrated. And we were going to talk about remakes of films. And the fact that some films should be left alone. And we are going to come on to that. But
which is a good one. We do want to cover that.
I'm just going to put it out there, like the Italian Job.
Oh.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
The Men from Uncle. Leave it alone. Don't go. MASH. Leave it alone. Don't do it.
Total Recall should have left alone.
Leave it alone. Just don't do it. Leave it alone. Anyway. But we've been getting a little bit frustrated with social media. And, we have our personal pages on social media and we have ministry pages we are the sort of people we want to keep engaging with people's comments and stuff. But one of the things I'm getting really concerned about on social media, and this is probably going to get a little bit serious, why are people so angry? Why is there such little grace? You can say you're only as good on social media as your last post. And if you are slightly out of step or misinterpreted, it's like a pack of attack dogs are unleashed upon you. And I know, this has not happened to me recently, but it has happened many times in the past. But I know really good men and women, really good, beautifully hearted people who just get slaughtered. And in the background are properly traumatized or hurt by some of the stuff that's happening. Now, if I could categorize some popular social medias, what I've said in the past is, and I've been online with this, is that Instagram's like a shiny, happy place where you put your best. It can be a bit plastic. Facebook seems to be a little bit in the middle. You tend to show your best photos, but there's some self-deprecation on there and stuff. But more and more people are casting opinion that's polarizing, people get very angry. And Twitter is like a barroom brawl. It's like a permanent dust up where it's like a Wild West saloon, but like what's its name? who's the one who writes all those horrible films? It's like a Tarantino western, like it's brutal, basically.
Yeah,
and I see a lot of Christians behaving like this, and I don't think it's right. I don't like it. Where's the grace? So what I've been saying is, I don't even know if I want to be on there anymore.
Well, yeah, you did say that today.
Yeah, even though we're streaming this live to Facebook, but this is through a ministry page. But what I'm saying is, someone just said, easy to be angry when you're hiding behind the keyboard. I guess what I want to argue for is, let's be kind. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Believe the best. Take a deep breath. Be gracious. 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Give thanks in all circumstances. Ephesians 4:29. Don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only that which is good for building people up. And I think at the moment, what's happening is we're being so outrageous towards politicians, anyone in leadership, anyone casting an opinion, that we're very much in danger of turning people off Christ. Don't like it. That's what I think. That's my rant. Don't know what you think, Blackers.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, mate. I am with you. And I remember seeing a sort of a story of one girl who was ill and she was disabled. And she got turned into a bit of a meme on social media, and people basically used it just to make fun of her. And there were over 10,000 comments on this one video of her. And she went through and read every single comment, and not one supported her, defended her, or spoke well of her. It was all just everyone jumping on board. And yeah, I think you're right. I think the challenge is to be that person who speaks the opposite and encourages or calls out the good.
Now, we mess around a lot on this show and amongst the serious stuff. And I know people are listening to this who are, some are Christians and some aren't. And that's all great. But I think predominantly talking now to the Christian men and women who are listening, mostly men. Let me remind you, Ephesians 4:29. Don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only that which builds people up. 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Give thanks in all circumstances. Be gracious. Be a man of grace. Give thanks in all circumstances. Be kind is your default. Give the benefit of the doubt. Believe the best. That's someone just put up, as far as it depends, you live at peace with all people. That's Andrew, me PA, and can't just say I did not set that up. But this is but we have a rant slot every week, but I wanted to use this opportunity to say let's not turn people off Christ by dismal behaviour. And Twitter does not have to be a Tarantino barroom brawl. It doesn't have to be. It can be a place to play too. So
I think you said enough.
Well, I was thinking, I don't know whether to delete me Twitter or Facebook or not, but I'll hang in there for a little bit longer.
Hang on, mate. Hang on.
What's going on?
No, nothing. I'm saying hang on. Don't delete.
Oh, I thought you were coming up. It's Stockers. He just put some bit of wise comment on and it went off the screen before I could read it. But always grateful. Always good to call out on each other too. Iron sharpens iron. We're not always wise all the time. Take constructive advice on the ... I'm assuming he meant
on the chin, maybe.
Take it on the chin. Good lad. I think it's time for a strongman tip.
Come on.
So Phil is with us, and Phil, follow Jesus and all-round good bloke and strongman, gym owner, ex-cop. Snapped his leg in half with a very careless accident, dropping an Atlas stone on his leg. Very silly. But he's with us every week. He did what?
He taught us this. He taught us how to flex properly by putting the thumb inside the fist. Do you remember?
Yeah, and
you got to try and touch the shoulder as well and put the.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I got cramped then.
Anyway, right. Anyway,
he's dehydrated. Hey, you know what?
Carl? I think the lights are washing out the definition. Right. Anyway,
they're getting bigger.
Dad, they are, mate. I've done something new for this fight. Anyway, moving on. We go to kettlebell swings every day. So, Phil, tell us how to get massive biceps with big veins. That's what we want to know.
Right. So, obviously, the bicep is basically it's the show-off muscle, isn't it? Really is quite a small muscle that shouldn't be put under a massive amount of load. So, whenever we're doing lat pull downs and stuff like that, we use the larger muscle groups. But biceps do look good. Okay, so you get the bicep. The bicep is 2 muscles that form this lump here. Okay, so best exercises, what you want to do is, if you want to increase your vascularity, which is the veins, you want to work basically sat down, leaning, so almost leaning down, so you're going against the heart. So the base of the blood's got to pump against against gravity, so that your blood supply gets better and better. Okay, so because it's got to replace it. So what you want to be doing, one of the best ones for bicep is you sit down on the bench, you place your elbow in your knee, and then you get a dumbbell and you bring it up. This was one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite exercises. It was the concentration curl.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's face it. If Arnie likes it, then it's got to be a good one. But you work the bicep. You can work the bicep basically at any point where you're basically bringing your hands up to your shoulders in any way. So you can do it on the cable crossovers. You could use a bar in front of you. And also what is important as well, what you need to be doing is not just have the open palm. So the open palm is basically working, I believe it's working the short head. Okay, so the short head bicep. But we need to make sure we're getting a good balance. So to be able to work the long head, which is the other part of the bicep muscle, all you do, okay, so this is the short head, the palm facing towards you, and then the long head is, all you need to do is flip it round, okay? So bicep curls like that. That's what we call hammer curls. Okay. Right. And what happens also, there's a muscle that a lot of people don't know about underneath the bicep. Okay. So underneath the bicep, so we've got a bicep. Underneath here, there is actually another muscle, and that muscle is called the brachialis. Okay. I only learned about that when I accidentally tore it when I was doing an axle press. So I discovered it by accident, really. And I went to the hospital and they did an ultrasound scan on it, and they said, yeah, you've partially ruptured your brachialis. I was like, sorry, what? But anyway, so what the brachialis is, it's a lot to do with strength. So it's a muscle underneath the bicep. So if we work on this muscle here, what it does is it raises the bicep up as well. So that is what creates a nice big peak. So Arnold Schwarzenegger had that really big peak, bigger than mine, because he did the brachialis underneath, so it pushes the bicep up. And we work that muscle. So we've got the short head, we've got the long head, and to do the brachialis, do it that way around. Okay, so you're holding it almost the wrong way round, and you're doing a curl up to that. And that motion, that exercise, works the brachialis, and that will give you a bigger peak for the bicep. That's a little bit of a trick for you, but
nice,
give it a few weeks. Give it a few weeks, and I bet you anything you'll see a slightly different shape in the size of your bicep. It'll be a lot more peaky.
We'll have a little talk offline after the show, and we'll do a little bit of coaching. Aside from that, 2 questions. One person said, "Where is your gym?"
So my gym it's just off City Road in Sheffield, so it's about half a mile out of Sheffield city centre. It's a good little gym. It's strength orientated, so we haven't got much cardio machines, but lots of free weights, really good quality stuff.
Yeah, titanium strength gym.
You, mate.
Oh, go on.
What do you think of protein shakes?
Protein shake it's positive. Basically, your muscles are made out of protein, so mainly protein shakes are actually some form of lactose. So it's basically what's disregarded, got rid of when it comes to like milk. So you've got milk products. That's all you're having. So it's nothing bad in it. What it does, it can just top up your protein. So I'd always recommend if you've had a really intense workout, it's worth getting a protein shake in after. Or if you can't get protein shake in, have a large glass of milk, because that's got a lot of protein in as well. Because obviously your muscles need the building blocks.
Boom. There you go. Thanks, mate.
Do you eat a lot of steak, Phil?
Basically, what I try and do is I do like steak. Obviously, it gets expensive unless you have the really cheap cuts. So no, not really. I may have it once a week, but it's important to get a
The reason I ask is
diet of it.
the reason I ask is the internet. Al, he did some dirty steaks out there. I'd never seen anything like it. He chucked steaks live on his barbecue, and not on a grill. And apparently, he says they were amazing. Anyway, one other question. What do you think is the strongest? What is the strongest creature on the planet, mate? Pound for pound. Do you know that?
Oh, pound for pound. Okay, so obviously the strongest animal is going to be an elephant overall because it's just so much bigger than all the rest, so it can pick up the rest.
Right.
But if you go for pound, obviously this is an interesting subject to me. The strongest creature is actually a dung beetle. So it pays to move around poo all day, apparently. But that's not going to be picked up, I don't think, in any gyms anytime soon. But what they do is if you size up a dung beetle to the size of a human, so the world record deadlift for a human is 501 kilos, which is just over half a ton.
Wow.
A dung beetle, if you scale it up to a person, if you saw a person-sized dung beetle, would be able to pick up 80 tons. That's 160 times stronger than a human being. So let's just hope they don't invent some sort of enlargement.
That is insane. You know everything, mate. Honestly, it's not a question we can't put past it. But that's a good bit of pub trivia. If any of you blokes doing a little, when we eventually get down the pub again, a little bit of pub trivia for you. I think it's, thanks, Phil, mate. Appreciate that. I think it's time for going with Battleships, Blackers.
Come on in.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's game time with Beechy and Blackers.
Hands to action stations. Hands to action stations.
I always forget that's going to happen.
Assume NBCD State 1, Condition Zulu. Hands to action stations. Hands to action stations.
Stop it.
Do you want to explain that? Because that's very random.
Basically, Pincher was executive front officer on a warship. And when we said we're playing battleships, he actually did the proper command signal for when you're coming under attack. Now, last week, which is what that was, that's what actually happens. Last week, I have now sunk 2 of your ships, to recap.
Yeah.
And last week, you got a first hit on mine after 6 weeks, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you have one more shot, then I'll take one at you.
Can I confess, I need a recalibration on where that initial hit was because my daughter came into the office and pulled this down. I've lost it. What?
B6. You hit me at B6.
Right.
Take your shot, man.
I'm going to go B5.
Yes, it hit.
Come on. Come on. I'm thinking that tonight. Let's go B4.
No. I said one shot. We've got to stretch it out a bit. We've got years of this.
Go on, give me B4.
Hold on. B4. I'm shooting you. Yeah. B4.
No, that's what I've just said, B4.
No, but I'm doing it back.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
That's a miss, mate.
No, I'll let you have one more shot and then we'll move on. I'll take 2 next week.
Right. I'll go the other way. I'll go B7.
That's a hit.
Lovely. Till next week on that, mate.
Can I say that it's very, very upsetting? That is one of my major strategic battleships, that one, actually.
At last.
Let's have I think it's time for Pincher. A little bit of music, I think.
From a dusty cabin miles away, it's the man known only as Pincher. It's only Pincher's music trivia.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Pincher. Are you out there?
Hello, guys. I'm here. Yeah. All right. All good here. Cabin's, as it says, dusty. I'm not allowed anyone up there with a duster for the last 10 years. But yeah, we're doing good. So before we start, just a little bit of information here, and playing tribute to the Welsh boys amongst us tonight. That famous Welsh singer Richie Valens died this last week. Tell Laura I love her. Great song, not to be confused with Richie Valens, the American rock and roller who died in the plane crash with Buddy Holly. But just to mention Ricky Valens, who died this week. So this week, I think we're going to go a little bit of glam, and there's a reason for that. Jim Lee, 72 today. Noddy Holder, 74 tomorrow. Band, of course, formed Slade in 1966 in Wolverhampton. But for me, I'm going to take us back to Reading Rock Festival in 1980. It was the start of the British wave of new wave of British heavy metal. There was all these metal bands. It's the 20th anniversary. Look at that lot. I mean, you got UFO, Pat Travers, Magnum, White Snake, Iron Maiden, all those amazing rock bands. And here's a T-shirt. You were talking about T-shirts last week. I've still got my Reading Rock 1980 T-shirt. There it is. But you'll notice on the back of the shirt, there is actually an addition. Look down there. Slade. Slade were brought in at the last minute. You know, we all know Slade, the great, all the singles, Mama, We're All Crazy Now, and of course the Christmas one, Look What You've Done, Goodbye to Jane, Come On Feel the Noise, Mama, We're All Crazy Now, all this stuff, massive, massive hits in the 70s. But for me, Slade were actually a live band. They were an incredible live band. And here we go, a couple I prepared earlier. Here's one of their Old New Borrowed and Blue, one of their studio albums, great album. Looking at them looking moody on the back. Of course, they started off as a skinhead band, not there, obviously. And there they are in all their 1970s glory. But they were an amazing live band. And here we go. Look, they don't make CDs. You can't look at this on an MP3, can you? Look at that. There's your sleeve. There's Don Powell and Dave Hill doing stuff on the back. And look at this, a live album. And as you get down the bottom, Tambourine by an unknown member of the audience. Look at that. Brilliant, eh? Slade, what an amazing live band. So we're going to have a little bit of Slade in a minute. But after they were introduced by Bob Harris, and they actually replaced Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz at the last minute. Ozzy pulled out. And so they got Slade in, and I was there. This is the program that I brought back, and that's a T-shirt. And when they were announced, the whole place went mental, chucking cans at them. They were tinning them off because they thought they were an old teeny bopper band. But they launched straight into a song called Dizzy Mama. This is the EP that they recorded on Cheapskate Records, and they released this live EP. And they absolutely nailed it. They blew all these massive rock bands, current rock bands, off the stage. And they played an amazing set. Noddy was climbing up the speaker stacks at the side at one point. Amazing gig. So I'm going to give this a bit of a spin. Unfortunately, Def Leppard had to here we go. There we go. It's a bit of Look What You've Done. From Reading, 1980. You can hear me. That's all we can do with that. But Slade, not just for Christmas, an amazing live band, and they're still out there gigging. So a little bit of Slade, brilliant. Love it. Oh, and by the way, I heard something you were talking about computers earlier on, and I'd just like to put in the pitch that my jukebox is actually a very early programmable computer, because you can program it for up to 20, 25 songs, and it will play each one in succession. So there you go. I'm putting a pitch in for the jukebox. A programmable computer. 1963, mate.
Amazing. Look at that. Probably had more technology in that than the Apollo missions. Thanks so much for joining us, Pincher.
All right, fellas.
That's great.
See you next week.
See you later. Thanks
Cheers,
so much.
mate.
See you next week. I think it's time for a live interview, don't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, Beechy and Blackers bring to you the Sunday Night Live interview.
Here we go.
And every week we try to bring you something different. So we've had stories of faith, and we had a memorable night when Patrick Dixon joined us and talked through coronavirus. I mean, that was an astonishing night. We've had Gasky, part of CVM, one of the regional national directors, really talking about mental health. And we're super excited tonight because we've got Byron Hayward joining us, who's Welsh rugby coach, former boxer, and has just got quite a remarkable story. So let's hear it for Byron Hayward. So we'll kind of tag team this together a little bit, but so grateful that you've joined us tonight, mate, and super keen for the guys to hear your life story and your story of faith. But what we always say to people is, why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, in essence, and what you've done and what you do.
The Welsh guys here will know a bit more about me, but for those of you who not, obviously I live in a place called Ebble Vale, from a little village called Blaenau in the top of the Gwent Valleys. Been crazy about sport most of my life. Had a couple of ups and downs along the way, as we all do. In the storm, the storms of life are there for all of us, whether we're Christians or not. And at the moment, I'm currently, I've been blessed to play rugby for my country and box for my country along the way. And at the moment, I'm currently, as of last November, after the Rugby World Cup ended, part of the new Welsh coaching team, and I'm responsible for coaching defence.
Wow, that's great. And tell us, in terms of family or personal life, what's the story there at the moment?
Yeah, well, I'm married and got 3 children, 2 from a former marriage, and it's just me and my wife and my youngest son at the moment living at home. So yeah, very happy, very blessed.
How old's your youngest, mate?
He's 21, and he's boxing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so my youngest is 20, and I've got a lot of my mates like Nathan, like Blackers. Very, I'm not going to. Well, you've been enjoying the homeschooling, haven't you, mate?
Well, to be fair, my wife's been doing a lot of that. I do more the bike rides and art classes, but yeah, I feel for anyone with young kids at home, it's pretty tiring.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. So tell us, mate. Tell us, Byron, about the rugby career, because that sounds. I mean, can I say this as an Essex English boy? But rugby is a religion in Wales, isn't it? In many ways. I mean, it is part of the national identity, isn't it? So to run onto a pitch and wearing your nation's colours must be phenomenal. What's that about? What's that like? Talk to us about that. I think the guys would be fascinated to know what is that actually like.
Yeah, it is. It's as you say, in Wales, I think every young child growing up, I know I did from the time I was about 5 years of age. Well, all you ever dream about is actually playing for your country, and it's just something you never ever think will really happen. I was fortunate enough to do it at age grade level. So 17s, 18s, 19s and 20s, but I mean, to do it at senior level is a different kettle of fish altogether, and it really didn't happen for me until I was 28. And you just think you've put all those years of hard work in, and for me, it made it even more satisfying when I actually achieved it in the end, because there's times when you have the ups and downs with injuries, you're out of form, you don't get selected, and obviously in Wales, with it being such a religion, there's so much talent available as well to pick from, even though we are a small country. So yeah, it is a lifelong dream, really, that you get to realise, and it's such a blessing, because every Welsh human being, I think, would dream of just running on the field, with the jersey on, and it's something that stays you forever.
What was that like the first time you ran on the field in the jersey? What went through your head and heart?
Well, it was weird for me because I was on the bench a few times. It was the Five Nations then, which was '98, and I never actually got on the field, so I was unbelievable frustration. And then we went on tour to South Africa, and I thought I'm guaranteed to start now. But anyway, the first test we played there was against in Zimbabwe. We stayed in Zimbabwe before we moved on to South Africa. And I was on the bench again. It was just like, I can't believe this is never ever going to happen. But I think, when I got on just before half time, and then half time came and we played, it was about 98 degrees. The heat was horrendous. But I think I had that much adrenaline built up in me for the best part of 28 years. I actually scored 3 tries in the second half. And I think it was just purely on the amount of adrenaline I had. Every time I had the ball, I just felt like the roadrunner. But that was the result of, I think, all the excitement and adrenaline and frustration as well.
So that what is that? I mean, we talked about running on the pitch in a jersey. What about scoring, getting a try for your nation? What did that feel like? That must have felt amazing.
I actually came on a fullback, which I was out of position because I usually always played outside half, which is number 10. Virtually every time I had the ball, I don't think I was willing to pass to anyone. I just wanted to run with it because it's just, it was amazing. And to have that type of debut as well, I think there's only 3 people have ever done it. And yeah, it is. When I look back at it now, it's
wow.
Yeah, pinch yourself really.
Yeah, special moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rugby career progressed, but also there's boxing in the background too, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I'd got to about 20 years of age really, and everything was going well with sport, rugby, and sort of pressed the self-destruct button really. I'd met a girl and she fell pregnant. I thought I'd do the right thing and get married, and within 2 years anyway, I had 2 children and was on my way to a divorce. And I sort of started feeling really frustrated, angry with myself more than anything, and then started going out drinking a lot, and every weekend getting into scraps, fighting in a local village, and just taking all my anger and aggression out, whenever way I could. And I remember my father saying to me, virtually every weekend I'd be involved in fights somewhere, and the police come to the house, and I went to court once, and he actually said to me about, he said, if you want to fight that much, why don't you join the boxing gym? And I was playing for Newbridge at the time, and Newbridge rugby ground, right next door to the rugby ground was the boxing gym where Joe Calzaghe trained, and he was trained by his father, and his father Enzo trained him. So I thought, I took it up one night. I went in there and had a chat to Enzo, and I just started training there, and I just got a bag. I just loved it. He got me in the ring sparring and got battered a few times, but I just enjoyed the sport and the discipline side of it. And within 2 years, I was unbeaten, and he made me a Welsh champion, and I was boxing for my country within less than 2 years. So on the back of that, rugby wasn't professional at this time. It was an amateur sport, and I was a plasterer. There wasn't much work about, and I was with my wife, who I'm with now. We just met and got together. Wasn't earning much money. So I thought Enzo said to me about turning professional, because Joe had just turned professional about 6 months earlier with Mickey Duff at the time. He was the old promoter. So I'd had all the medicals. I'd only had a brain scan left to have. And I'd given up the rugby because I had to drop my weight and get my weight down to fight. So it was a phone call really. I was playing for Newport at the time, but I hadn't played for a long, long time. So just focus on the boxing. And they rang me to see if I'd come out and play. And there was in those days, it was backhanders money. You just have a couple of quid for playing. And I think it was only like 25 quid to play. But, I was skint. My eldest son, who was living with me and my wife now, I just needed the money. So I went out and played in a game against Cross Keys. And the very last couple of minutes of the game, got tackled, got in a ruck, and I broke my neck. So snapped 2 vertebrae in my neck, and I was out of action for a long, long time in hospital. And then by the time I come back, it was like rugby had turned professional then. And it's amazing how your journey could go either way in your life. and rugby turned professional, and I'd actually had an offer to take up a full-time contract with Ebbw Vale. And really that's how I went from the boxing back to rugby. And just ended up playing professional rugby then. And it was amazing really, because when you're working in the amateur days, you go to work all day, you come home and then you'd go and do your training. It was such unbelievable that I couldn't believe that I was going to do my training. Somebody was paying me to go to the gym and train and come home, and then I had my day free. It was just so strange. And I guess that's the good thing for me, having a part in the amateur world and then a part in the rugby, in the professional game, you know.
And tell us about you faced you broke your neck there, but you faced another big medical challenge, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was some years later, you know. Like, it was funny, like you'd look about your journey of life, but also your faith journey. And you know, I knew Jesus from when I was young. My grandparents, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and they took me to church, and I went to Sunday school. But you know, being a teenager where I grew up, it wasn't cool. So you know, you drift off and you don't go there. And I remember when we was in the Welsh squad, before I got to the part later on in life, is where Darren Jenkins, I'm sure a lot of people, particularly the Welsh people, will know Darren well. When you're away, you share you spend so much time in hotels and you're sharing rooms together. And me and Garen, we sort of reached, he was the same, we'd reached the pinnacle really. You think all you ever want to do is play for Wales, and that's it. Once you do, that's it, I'm happy now, I'm done. But we were always talking about faith and God, and it was something else. And when I look back now, it's only when you look back you actually see what actually makes sense and where you're being prodded and guided. And even though we'd achieved what we always wanted to achieve, we're still missing something. And now I know it's an identity, which I think most people struggle with.
Yeah.
It's finding a true identity, and it's not in your achievements or winning things or boxing or whatever. And until you find that, I don't think you ever really have freedom. So me and Garen, we were constantly talking about faith and God, and anyway, we parted our ways. Garen lived in another place from me, and he went on to be a Christian at that time of his life. Now, some years later for me, 10 years after that, I'd just come back from a coaching stint in Sale, coaching Sale Sharks for 2 years. And I come back, and one night I was in the house, I had a horrendous pain in my head, and I'd end up having a TIA, which is a minor stroke.
Yeah.
And after that, he's like, I just think I really struggled mentally with it, because they couldn't tell me why I had it. They said it was nothing to do with the boxing or bumps I had to my head. They'd done all the tests on me. And I thought I lived a clean life, you know, apart from having a few beers here and there. I've never taken drugs. I've always been fit and healthy, and I was depressed, you know. I got really depressed about it and down, and couldn't get my head around it. Anyway, 18 months later, I had a routine eye test at the local Specsavers here in Ebbw Vale, and they found something behind my right eye, sent me to the hospital in Abergavenny, and then 6 months later I got referred to Liverpool. It took that long, where I got diagnosed with ocular melanoma, which is an eye cancer. And the first question I had, like, for the professor when he diagnosed me was, well, I just assume it's from rugby or boxing. And again, find it frustrating, because he says no, it's just one of these rare forms of cancer that anyone can get, and it's really, you know, nothing to do with your sport. But I think that was really the part of my journey of actually becoming a proper, full, committed Christian, in that I remember I had 3 operations, so I had to have radiotherapy in Liverpool, and going through those operations, I just always remember feeling a sense of peace. Like, even going into theatre, you know, I couldn't explain it. There was no fear, and that's not, it's no bravado rubbish, because, like, I don't know what was going to happen, but I just felt an unbelievable sense of peace, and I really believe that was the start of my journey. And you know, sometime after that, I had a lot of tests. Fast forward the clock for about 10 months, and I went for my checkup to see if it was going to go either way, you know, because this thing spreads to your liver. unbelievably goes from your eye to your liver, and if it does, then it's terminal. But by the grace of God, the surgeons, they saved my eye, and they give me basically the all clear, even though I have to be checked every year. I had the all clear, and I remember it was in November time. I remember saying to my wife that I always went to the local club for a pint with my father-in-law on a Christmas Eve, and I remember saying to my wife that I'm going to church this year, midnight mass. She's like, "Why?" I said, "I'm say thank you." And she said, "Right, I'll come." So she came along with me, and that was on maybe 7 years ago now. Yeah, it would have been about 7 years ago now. Anyway, I didn't end up going back to the church until the following May. But all the while, I'm getting more and more spiritual. And a friend of my wife who worked with her dropped a book into her bag one day in work, and it was about Christians in sport. And took it up. Wife gave me it, and I read it. Great, thank you very much. Give her the book back. Like every couple of weeks, then there'd be another book coming in there. And like at that time, that lady was dropping seeds into that bag, not books. He was planting seeds because I just wanted more and more. And then I ended up going back to church one day, sat in the house at 10:30 on a Thursday morning. And, you get the call in. I think I'll just go up to church and see if the church is open or when is the service. Well, I happened to be outside the church, and a little old lady got on her way in there. I said, "Oh, when's the service?" And she goes, "Oh, there's one now, actually. It's 10:30 on a Thursday morning." And she said, "Come on in." And I was like, whoa, I've never been so frightened. I jumped in a ring and boxed many a time, but a little old lady asked me to go to church, and I wanted to run away. I did everything I could to get out of there, but she dragged me in, and there was only about 15, 20 people there. It was a nice little communion service, and just really liked the feeling I had there. The people were really nice. The vicar there at the time was Jeff Waggett, was the chaplain in the local rugby team. So I went back, had a cup of tea and a few biscuits with him, and just got talking away there, and I just kept going back because I wanted more and more of that feeling with us Christians know what that feeling is. It's love. Yeah. And I just wanted more of it. It was a drug of love that I just couldn't get enough of. So I went through not an Alpha course. It was a Saints Alive course, which is very similar to the Alpha course, over 6 weeks. And it just gave me a greater understanding about, why Jesus came to this earth, what he actually did. And when you get a greater understanding of the Bible, it leaves no doubt in your mind that it's real. It is true. And my wife said to me, "You sure this is what you want to do? You're 100% sure this was what you want to do, And I said, "Yeah, without a doubt." I said, "I've spent the best part of 40 years wandering this earth trying to do it my way, and I ain't done a very good job of it. And I didn't feel fulfilled. I lived a selfish life, and I think as a sportsman sometimes you have to. But I thought I need a shepherd to lead me, and because I couldn't, and since I've been led by Jesus, my life has been unbelievably fulfilled in a way that you can't equate to running on a rugby field for your country or putting a cap on your head, getting trophies, money. It's a fulfillment inside that only comes from a supernatural power. So obviously I got baptized. Yeah, I got baptized then, and it was amazing. And then I don't know if you all gone through this, but I went through the beating up. I call it the beating up process, where you just judge yourself on, because I'm trying to be like Jesus every day.
God starts to fashion you, starts to chip away at you. Yeah. It's hard.
And every little thing I done wrong, every little mistake, and judging everyone in my house as well. So if there's something on TV that there's bad language on there, I'm like, turn it off. I'm trying to be perfect. And as we all know, it's impossible. You can't. You can't be. We're only saved by grace. So and that's where I am today. I guess I spoke a bit there. Sorry, I got
something you said something you said a moment ago was so powerful. I mean, everything you said is powerful. But we started off saying, what does it feel like to run on a pitch wearing your nation's jersey? What does it feel like to represent your country? And then you said, nothing compares. That representing your country does not compare to knowing Christ. And that there are men listening to this who need to hear this. I mean, they've so needed to hear you tonight. You can have everything, be seemingly on top of the world, but it is nothing. It's incomparable to knowing Christ in your life. You said it in a way that none of us could say that. I mean, Phil has said it, you know, contending for strongest man stuff, and then knowing the incomparable grace, mercy, and love of Christ. What if anyone is listening, any man out there listening tonight who does not yet know the Lord Jesus Christ, what would you say to them right now, mate? Putting you on the spot with that, but what would you say right now?
Yeah, and for me, the biggest thing is that freedom, and it's freedom of you look at the way the world is tomorrow at this moment in time, particularly with what's going on with, and it's most people are living by fear. Fear stops so many people from doing what they want to do, or the fear of what people think or say about them. And once you know the truth, the Bible says, once you know the truth will set you free. And the truth that I know is the fact, and it is the truth, is Jesus came to this earth, one, to teach me how to live properly, two, to die for my sins, to take all my sin and shame, and to die for me on the cross. And then the amazing thing is that we have the hope of eternal life, because after 3 days, he rose again from the dead.
Amen.
And that is the truth. And that gives you freedom. You don't, I have no fear over anything, because I know where I'm going. I don't deserve to go there, but I know where I'm going. And
100%.
me and my wife, we went to Israel last November for my 50th. My wife paid for me to go, and when you go to that country and you go to Jerusalem and you see the things you see, you know the truth is real, because
Game changer, isn't it? Yeah.
it is. It's like, there's no way, you can't make up what is in the Bible or the history that's in that country. You just can't make it up. I mean, J.K. Rowling couldn't write what's in the Bible.
Yeah, too right.
And I think if you just, I would like to say to if you're not a non-Christian, if you just, and I've said this to some of my mates as well who are non-Christians, is that if you want a guide for life, because I believe that's what the Bible is, it's the book of life, it's a guide for us. Just read the book of Proverbs. 31 chapters in there, one for every day. Read it, study it, and that will give you everything you need for your life. And if you think about books, we all buy books, whether it be on training, cookbooks, dieting, whatever. If you bought that book 10 or 15 years ago, that's out of date now. You won't have to get an up-to-date book. But the Bible was written thousands of years ago, is applicable today as it was then. And it's what we all need for our lives. The guidance and wisdom in there for your marriage, your children, your relationships, everything you need is
it's all in the book. It's all in the book. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a manual for life guide. And you think, how can somebody make that up? It's impossible.
We agree.
I always think of my non-Christian mates. My story and my version is more plausible than yours will ever be.
That's it. Mate, we can't thank you enough. That is an amazing story. And to be honest, we'd want to be talking to you all night. And I'm sure the guys have got loads of questions. We've shortly got to bring this into land now, sadly. Is there anything for you, Nathan?
No, mate. I mean, there's loads of comments, just loads of people thanking you, Byron, for your testimony, for your story, and the way you've told it and the truth that's come through. So, yeah, massive thank you.
Yeah,
pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us, mate. Absolutely amazing. And stick around, we'll have a chat with you just briefly after the show as well. So I'm sure everyone wants to say thanks. Thank you so much, Byron. That's been absolutely amazing. Just absolutely brilliant. So thanks so much for joining us. Guys. And definitely want to get you back. I think there's just more we want to hear, actually. I could listen to you all night. Yeah. It's amazing. Beautiful. Nathan, over to you, mate, for some gathering update stuff, I think.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, mate. So
remarkable stuff.
yeah. Yeah, just phenomenal. And I think what's exciting is that the truth that Byron's talking about is what's going to be available at the gathering 26th to 27th, you know, because that's kind of what the gathering's all about, is just telling the truth about Jesus, right, mate? I mean, that's what the whole event's designed for.
We want to put your mates in front of the gospel and have a fun weekend as well. So spread the word, because we want to tell your mates about Jesus Christ. And if there's anyone listening out there who don't know Jesus Christ, you heard it from a top sportsman, you need to know the Lord. So get on it and watch the gathering.
Get involved. Yeah, so 26th to the 27th it is the gathering. So Friday night and then most of the day Saturday. Carl and I are going to be hosting it live from the hub. We've got a special stage being built as we speak. So it's going to be pretty awesome. But we've also got stuff available like a prayer shed. There's seminars, there's Q&As after every seminar that you can get involved in. You can get on Zoom. And there's also going to be worship, there's just loads of cool stuff happening. So we're really excited about it. So yeah, it's going to be good. And it's free this year.
It's free this year from Bunkers. We're running short on time, but I think we should do, what you got for us, mate? You got clips and top.
All right, so yeah. I think we've got time. So we've got a few clips lined up. I've put together a few things, our sort of Olympics offerings that we want to see in the Olympics. So I thought this one would go quite nicely tonight. This is, well, let's have a look. Let's just see.
New Olympic sports. Let's go.
At 6'6" and 80 kilos, he doesn't exactly have a boxing build. But Matt actually doesn't need to land a punch to win this bout.
And that's a great move.
Because between every round of boxing, the players pause for 4 minutes of chess.
And that's
so this is chess boxing. And isn't that phenomenal? I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
So basically, like, you've have a full-on fight, then play a game of chess.
Yeah, and you can actually win. Yeah. Anyway, we've got to move on. Time is short. This next one, this is Barstool Skills. It's called Hockern. What do you think of this, mate?
Aber die Kieler haben das Hockern genannt und so haben wir das kennengelernt und es hat uns nicht mehr losgelassen.
Da Stefan Industriedesign studiert, schreibt er einfach seine Abschlussarbeit über die Schemel. Anschließend entwerfen die Brüder einen Sporthocker und entwickeln seitdem Kollektionen. Altmodisch einfach auf dem Hocker sitzen.
How about that?
How did someone come up with that?
I don't know, mate. I can't speak German, so
he's got to be a student. Anyway,
anyway, the last one I want to show you, clip of the week for my Olympic entry is well, let's have a look. It's beautiful. Snail racing.
Lots of noise, everybody. Ready, steady, slow.
I had to speed the video up a bit. And there's your winner.
Well done, mate. Thank you.
I'm not so much.
Very well raced.
I'm more taken by the fact that people actually turn up to watch it.
Yeah.
Why would anyone turn up to watch
it? I think that could be good. That anyway. Let's do another one. Let's do a top three. Let's do a top three.
Right.
We should have a clip.
It's time for the official CVM Top 3.
All right, so let's quickly race through these because we want to keep to the hour because we're good on our timing. So this is
as well.
Yeah, so we'll just do it very quickly. This is our top 3 classic arcade games. So in at number 3, let's see what it is. Look at this, Outrun. Do you remember Outrun?
Oh yeah.
The old Ferrari. Yeah. Thumbs up. Anyway, so that's number 3. In at number 2, how about this? This is a classic.
Not
Pac-Man. There you go. And in at number 1. Yeah, look at this. My son couldn't believe the graphics. Look at this. This is Pong.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Actually looks quite hard.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah. I mean, that's cutting edge graphics.
We should play Pong live at the gathering.
I think we could do that.
Anyway, I think that's a good top 3. I'm a bit disappointed you didn't include Space Invaders. But just before we go, I've always been a bit puzzled by how long it takes people to lay roads. You know, these constant 50 mile an hour on M1.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard to lay a road. So I don't know. I thought we'd just ask a mancologist. Mancologist, are you out there?
Hey, Beechy.
Hi, mancologist. So help us with this. How do you lay a road?
How to resurface a road. Complete the setting out work. Clear and excavate the ground to formation level. Remember your sub-base, binder course and surface course should be 100, 50 and 25 mil respectively. Lay your curbs on suitable concrete. It's probably best to use a curb without front haunching as it can lead to problems with differential settlement. Place the sub-base, then you rake and roll. Check the dip by using a noggin of timber cut at the required depth. Use the heavy roller. Lay your binder course, which is a bitmap layer. Get the laying gang to tip it out as needed by your rake hands. Roll it as soon as it is laid. Lay your surface course. You might want to use a lute for a smoother finish. Leave the newly laid road to cool for 12 hours if possible.
Job done.
She knows everything.
Everything.
She knows everything. It's ridiculous. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Do share this. I mean, what Byron said earlier was amazing, and we want everyone to hear the gospel. So share it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye from me, Phil, Pincher, Byron, Blackers. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. See you next week.